If you find your way into this live, I greatly, greatly appreciate you as my content continues to get shadow banned, so to say, and it's very difficult to push these out. So if you do watch, make sure to hit that like button, share this. I'm going to share it on my own as well. I'd greatly appreciate it if you try to push this around and try to allow others to see this. If you do make it in here, whether you're here before or after the live, I greatly appreciate you regardless of which way you watch this. I really want to get this in the right direction quickly because so far today, XRP has not garnered a lot of buying pressure. We haven't had a lot of volume. The prices continue to stay mostly sluggish. Bitcoin, after a push up, hasn't gotten over this big resistance area that we talked about if you're in the morning live. Can still push up a little bit higher to hit this point of resistance at around 88,500. And then we'll go from there. If we can't push over, if we do push over, we'll be able to see the narrative that's building. Jordan, good evening. Jay Willikerds says the charts are all wrong. I heard from Zach Rectum that XRP was going to $1,000 per XRP and to buy the dips. This is just a shakeout before the breakout. The bigger retrace, the bigger the space. Well, Mr. Rectum is full of shit. It's not going to $1,000. But on these drops, especially if we were to get a bigger one, I don't disagree that this would be the area that I would look. You have to make a hardcore decision whether or not you want to buy and hold, or if you're looking for some kind of confirmation or continuation down. That's obviously up to each individual. But we're definitely in that time and space now within this space where if we do get another rejection here and it continues down, this would be an opportunity to watch for sure. I don't have any respect for somebody putting those digits out and just for no reason saying the charts are lying. Like that doesn't start out good. The charts haven't lied about anything. It's how we got to where we're at right now. So with all due respect, the charts tell the truth and the rectum is one blowing smoke. Good evening. 5:54 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Tuesday, December 16th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. My last few hours as a 41-year-old as I turn 42 tomorrow. Although I feel like I'm turning 43 because I've been saying I'm 42 for like the last 6 months to everybody. So it's kind of a weird feeling. I had to make sure that I was in fact turning 42 and not 43. So I suppose that's a good thing. But that's either near nor there. Ryan Eisenhower, good evening. Rob Clement, good evening. Mr. Stott and Maple Man, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. Mick Shoot, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge along with UK Phil. What's going on, mate? Frankie Fresh, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XRP Predictor. I hope you and Janine are doing very, very well this evening. I hope your hand's improving ever so slightly on that range of motion. And I really do hope it's a peaceful, peaceful Tuesday evening for both of you. Tanya, welcome in, love, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge. I was happy to see you comment in this morning's live. I know you had to go to work, but I'm so glad you're here, Tanya. I really am. I hope your daughter's doing well. Always brings the vibes up when you're in here. Excellent. Dan, good evening. Nick Nack, welcome in. XRP John Hall, good evening, and bless you, my friend. I'm glad you're in here. It's all an illusion. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Says the 5-month shakeout. Hell yeah. Dan March says if you're watching it, that like button, please do. It would be very, very beneficial. Tanya says full of the Shirokis, indeed. William Hayes, Clink Dunbar, Mr. Stott. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 months with the XRP Meteor. Mrs. Stott says, good evening, everyone. I'm making potato soup topped with burnt ends, so listening in the background. Excellent. I'm glad you're listening in the background while cooking your very, very impressive meal. Rob Clement, good evening. Says, we need XRP to go down. We will get the buyers we need. It's much easier to find the buyers the farther we go down, and it's much easier to get people and convince them to sell at a loss than to find new buyers if there's not a lot of money for retail on the sideline. So there's definitely that part of this for sure. Let's see. Let me just catch up here. Ben, good evening, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. The Gatman, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge. Says, man, that 10 looks more real. Every day we don't break out. I know. It sure does. At 10 cents, absolutely. I mean, that's going to be a big drop. What he's referring to, if you're talking about XRP, we never back tested. There's a little bit of a gap there where we never back tested in December of 2020, roughly. When the lawsuit was announced, we came down to just over 10.3 to 10.4 cents, roughly. After the break back up, we never back tested that initial drop down. So if we ever were to fall back through and this entire pattern failed, likely spot where we might have to look at, which is on the chart, but that's what that's for. Let's see. Matthew says, are you still buying back in or still going to wait and see what happens? Nothing's changed. I haven't got any kind of confirmation if I wanted to expand into something. You know, I'm still looking at XDC as kind of a baseline here to see how it reacts to this 20-day and to see if now this is a reversal maybe and we can pound back up. Otherwise, if we get pushed down and we end up breaking down, this would go a long way in thinking, you know, maybe across the market, we're going to get some kind of similarities within the price action. Interesting, it took off all my indicators. That sucks. Usually it does that sometimes. Ah, there's the volume. All right, there we go. That's the moving average convergence divergence, but they took away the RSI, which honestly, in this particular setup, kind of like the RSI a little bit better, right? The stochastic, anyhow. So if you're looking for the stochastic, you just come up here, search, just do the stochastic, just do STOCH. And then I like the stochastic RSI, which is the second one. It's more volatile. It gives you a much more expansive look here, in my opinion, and it reacts a lot quicker because it's much more volatile to the more recent price action. As to where the RSI will evenly weight it farther out and in, puts a lot more weight on the stochastic RSI, the more recent price action. The daily looks atrocious for XLM. Let's just call it for what it is. That daily looks horrible. The hourly came up at one point today, but it hasn't been able to garner any positive momentum at all. There's no positive momentum in volume. So XLM right now is dragging big time. That doesn't mean going forward after it gets to where it needs to go that we're not going to have volatile breakouts, because I believe we will. But right now it's just not garnering any positive momentum at all. In fact, it's got a little bit of a flag set up here if it breaks down. If we end up breaking 21.2, this just keeps continuing down this little setting. I mean, we almost came down like that. But if we do break down, I mean, it all depends on this market. If the market decides to reverse because Friday ends up a nightmare and this ends up falling out, yeah, you're probably going to look at that 10.4 cent area end time. And I know that's a 50% drop if it were to fall out. But the facts are, if it falls out of this, which we're on the bottom side, which is so dangerous. It's so dangerous because we've already got rejected up here many times in the daily. So that 25.2 never came back. So now it was like, okay, well, here's another 20% drop. And now we're almost done with that drop. If you just look at it, we've come down about 18%. It was about a 20% drop. So it's only 2% away from that targeted area. So, I mean, a lot of stuff needs to happen here, but not just XRP, but with the alt tokens, with the so-called utility tokens, on and on and on and so forth. And the big hindrance right now is what's happening Friday. It's a 2-day meeting starting Thursday for the Bank of Japan. But we already know they're raising rates. So, I mean, there's speculation that maybe it's all facade and they will lower rates. But what ends up happening, everybody needs to be very aware of it if you live in the USA. Even Julie might learn something. When the Bank of Japan raises rates, they end up having a run. And by doing that, it ends up taking the weight. And you wonder why the U.S. decided to do QE and immediately put it in T-bills, the treasury bills. Because when Japan raises rates, it's going to negatively affect that disparity or that dispersion. And what ends up happening is risk assets get sold to offset that loss. And unfortunately, crypto is the biggest risk asset of all. That's why it becomes the most volatile space, even more than the stock market. That's why this ends up happening. There's a direct correlation between U.S. bonds and treasuries. And when the Bank of Japan raises rates, it has a negative equity style flow. It's not good. It is not good. And that's why a lot of times risk assets get sold off to try to re-weight the balance. Like, hey, we got to sell off this part of our holdings because the T-bills or the bonds, the U.S. bonds and treasuries are so off weight. That's why it makes perfect sense that the U.S. had to go back to quantitative easing and they threw all that money into the T-bills. They're fucking scared. Oh, excuse me, I didn't want to swear in this live. Darn it. 11 minutes, I screwed up.
Well, that's probably a long
time. But anyhow, do you think rates are priced before Friday? Probably not. But we'll see if we get a continuation down here, if we end up getting a little bit of a spike here. Like that, I can't really answer it yet. We're only Tuesday. It was an interesting end of the day with metals. It really was. Because they were up and down, left and right. And now all of a sudden gold, by the end of the day, we're up a couple bucks. Silver was down a few percent. It went positive. We talked about Dolly Varden earlier, and it had a weird day. It was down to 434 earlier. Got back up to 451 at close, and then went to $4.60, up 2% in after hours. Still think there's going to be one of these days where we see a real volatile spike up of 10 or 15% on Dolly Varden. It almost feels like we're there. It's just a matter of can we get the follow through with silver. If silver goes up at all, Dolly Varden's going over 5 to 550. It's going to happen. I'm telling you right now. If silver goes up one more day, Dolly Varden's going to have a day. Or if it even holds. It's so close. And the fact that silver came back up the entire way today, literally the entire way. And we're down at like, I know the clock flipped a couple hours ago now, but we had come all the way down. And silver had actually put a nice reversal on towards the end of the day because it was all the way down at, let's see, Tuesday it got down to $62.10 per ounce. By the end of the day, it was a pretty healthy pullback up. It was up about 2.25% by the close, and now all of a sudden, we're up more than 2.5% from the day low. From this calendar day. Now we're in the next daily day, but from this calendar day of the trading, it's actually had a nice recovery here. So we're going to see what this is all about very freaking quickly here. We're really going to see what this is all about. And if it breaks out from here, commodities, mining stocks are going to have a positive effect, a positive correlation in crypto. It's just going to be another hindrance here in a risk asset. Like, this is starting to build into something. We'll see. And I'm going to do it. Probably. It has to be like that, though. If you're going to do it properly, you would have to do it like that. Even if you wanted to go over the top, it doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like what we talked about when it was first starting before, when it was like, are we just doing a series of these rising or nice consolidations and then a continued break? If it has a breakout from here, and this actually, I mean, you're talking about getting close to $70 for silver if this actually plays out. So miners are going to be positively correlated if this actually breaks out. I don't know if it's going to. I don't know if it's just coming up for resistance. Well, I mean, it's over the top right now. But if this plays out, I mean, you're talking $67. And that would mean that something bad's happening in the rest of the economy. That means our U.S. dollar is being more depreciated, which with the Bank of Japan doing what they're doing, that would negatively correlate to the U.S. dollar. The dollar would go down. And the dollar's barely hanging on to the 98 handle right now. It's in an interesting spot. Even coming back up, because it was sluggish earlier. It came down to 97.88. Now it's having a bit of a reversal. All these markets are weird. Oil is at the cheapest it's been. It was the first time it slipped under $55 a barrel from the West Texas Intermediate Crude Oil, WTI. The last time it was under $55 a barrel was in 2021. So it made a fresh 4-year plus low. And equities fall with U.S. Treasury yields after data oil sinks. So, I mean, it's, hey, Kirsten, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge with It's All an Illusion. And Kirsten says it's already December 17th in the Netherlands. Look at me on the other side of the world. It's already my birthday. If you ever wondered what to get for your birthday, join Tom's Army. If you wanna pay it forward to me, although it's not my birthday yet. Not my birthday. Last year on my birthday, I had like 47 unsubscribers. That's a true story. Because I talked about how we were about to go into a bearish time and people got mad. But I said this feels like the exit pump on my birthday last year. But then 47 people, I'll never forget it. 47 people unsubscribed on my birthday. That wasn't a very cool Christmas present or birthday present. You never know what's going to affect you. XRP our made acquisitions is down to 78 cents, a fresh low. Does anybody remember where I talked about wanting to buy this piece of shit? Oh, I'm sorry, this piece of trash. We wanted it somewhere down here if it broke down, back into the real consolidation zone. I know it's funny. That's where I wanted it, somewhere down here. Get me down to 38 cents and we'll talk. Now, maybe it puts in a double bottom. Maybe it doesn't come all the way down, and maybe this is just a pipe dream. I don't know. It's on the weekly support, but it's... we'll see. We'll see. Our next pump might be an exit pump. It might be the gap, man. And thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge. And Mick Shoot, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge, along with Juan Brito. Appreciate that so very much. Yesterday, gas in my town went up from $2.19 to $2.89. Wow, that's a big jump. That's a big jump. The Cannabis Podcast in Tom's Army for over 11 months now. Next month, he gets a 1 year badge. Look at that. Look at that. Smash the like and subscribe to Tom's Army for his birthday. Absolutely. And thank you so much for that, the Cannabis Podcast. Really, really appreciate you with the message. And your continued dedication to try to put the content of your own out as well for cannabis and for herbal healing, let's just say. It's a commendable topic. Rob Clement says 3i Atlas Blue Beam is supposed to arrive Friday, same day as Japan rates. I've thought about that. It is interesting the timing that 3i Atlas is supposedly supposed to get the closest to Earth it will at that same time. I suppose if this goes too much into the shitter or the crapper, they'll be able to pull out some game, huh? The Gatman, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XP Diamond Hands bid. Says, how's XRPH Healthcare doing? It's on the exact same projection that we talked about a few weeks ago. No reason to really talk about it much on this downwardness because it's got to come down. And I just don't like talking about stuff over and over when it's got to come down. There is a possibility that we found ourselves in the... because we got rejected here, there is a possibility that this comes down. And if it does, we could come all the way down to fresh lows here. And like the 0-0s. This is where it gets interesting. Does it come down there to the 0-0? I don't know. 0-0-8. But with the way the rest of the market is, and yeah, now we're starting to get so oversold now to where it's going to start to be, you know, interesting going forward. But it's still got, to me, it looks like it's going to dump more. I don't know. Maybe it'll have one of these volatile spikes where it gets to the top side. But it really needs to hurry up here if it's gonna right the ship here. Right now, I'm seeing nothing but downtrends all across crypto. I'm not really seeing anything else. I've been saying this since January that it's going to get ugly here. I mean, we could cut off 9/10 out of everything if it goes wrong. I wasn't joking when I used to say that. I was dead serious. Dead serious. I'm like, I'm going to make it simple. It's got to stay over this area. Otherwise, you know, we could have a problem. But I was dead serious when I used to say the price could be 9/10 cut. Now, Epic being up 10%, we talked about this earlier. It had a maximum catapult up to about 58.5 cents. I think it's played that out pretty much to the best of its ability. Some volume spiked in, yes, that makes it good. But now we need to see what kind of carry out. Are we going to continue through? Does it do the same thing as XDC and start piling back down? I don't know. I do know that Epic's not going to be able to do it on its own, but at least it got some volume in, which is nice. Volume predicts price, and at least there was a small amount of volume that was helping predict the price, force it up. I'm still very surprised that we're not getting any more discussion on silver and gold. Like, even in the local media, the only time they talk about it is when it has a perceived dump. Going into Friday, I think some safe hands, money might find some safe hands towards the middle to late part of the week. So that's something we've always got to actually acknowledge. Joseph Euler, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the over 6 months with the XRP Predictor. And also gifting a sub, no kidding. Thank you, Mr. Euler, for gifting a sub. Sent 1 XRP Future Millionaire gifted membership. How to cook the right way. Congratulations on getting your first month's emoji badge with me being abducted by aliens. That is incredibly awesome. That is my face superimposed on that emoji badge. When was the last time we weren't in fear? Seen a few permabulls go bearish lately. It's been a while since we weren't in fear. We pushed into neutral very briefly. It was like for a day or two, and then we went right back into fear, and now extreme fear. We were at 11, but unfortunately with some of this upward price action today, when we get this out here in 46 minutes or so, this will probably go up, unfortunately. I really want this to take out that single digit number 6. If we get the number 6, we can take out and at least retouch the all-time lowest level in the history of this fear and greed index. That's what I want to do. I want to take out the ultimate level to where everybody's like, we've never had this much greed, ever. Let's see. Let's see. Kirsten, thank you for not only being part of Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge, but also a $6 donation. How incredibly awesome is that? Thank you so much for the pay it forward mentality. Oh man, I love it. Bearded Viking, welcome in and give Mighty Marcus our blessings and our love. He keeps fighting the good fight. Brave little man. Says XRP, or keep dropping down XRP, fill that previous FVG. Yeah, I mean, if this entire market keeps coming down, it's the entire market. Why put it on XRP? Who's putting it on XRP? Who the hell said it's XRP's fault, Ryan? Don't be so damn emotional over XRP. I put it in the title because I'm XRP Future Millionaire and my content's based around XRP. I'm not going to say that about something else. I always put XRP in the beginning of my title. But I do put a lot of stock into what XRP does, yes. But yeah, the entire market looks like crud. But, XRP is part of that crud. Today, Epic is outperforming the market. If XRP was outperforming the market, I would put it. Good excuse. I don't know if you're just trying to piss me off or not, but I guess to each their own. If you want to waste your time, that's fine. But, I don't know, I guess, too bad. I don't know what to tell you. If I was XLM Future Millionaire, if I was, let's see, if I was Shady Ryan, maybe I'd talk about Ryans, the good and bad Ryans of the world, and we'd have a heavy focus on Ryan. But because we focus on XRP in here, I have to have a heavy focus on XRP. But maybe one day we'll be the fighting Ryans, and then we can talk more. XRP, though, right now, until we get back over $2, it's a very tricky spot. Yes, we're getting caught up in the short resistance, but that's just that. Doesn't mean it's going to continue. $1.90, well, it keeps dragging along here. But this is that hot pink resistance. But the only reason that's there is because when we stay below that, we can have volatile drop downs. Oh, I know you're a good one, Ryan. I know you're a good one. I do, because you're actually putting your point out there, and I appreciate it. I'm just trying to be as blunt as I can while I put the content out the way I am. It's nothing personal. I'm just kind of a straight shooter, so I don't really know how else to say it. To my own fault. Or sometimes to my own dismay, I should say. Bitcoin, we definitely need to look at this real quick. Up 1,300. It was up about $2,000 earlier. A little bit more. A little bit more. But it still hasn't come over. Again, that major resistance, which is also where that FVG was. And right now we're on the bottom side of that. And there's so many different targets that we could have made here. And yeah, I know the 80,000, but I'm still hung up on that 72K until we get back on top of that rising channel or rising wedge that we broke down out of. Now, however, I do think that there is a possibility if we were to drop to 80 that we could have held it and then made our continuation back through without going to 72 right away. But obviously that's all speculation and conjecture until we figure out this pattern. That red circle to me is the liquidity circle. It's the liquidity circle of doomsday. That's what it is. So if we get caught up in here with Bitcoin, you can quickly drop down to 72. Very quickly. I mean, quickly. And the volume on the pullback is horrendous. You got to look at volume if it's going to predict a future price increase. There's no volume. If you look at the sell volume in the 4-hourly, you had 220 Bitcoin, and then you had 416. Now, on the big reversal candle, we don't even need to count this if you don't want, but it was 92, and then right here, 150. So 150 on the big reversal candle, but 416 on the big drop candle. Something tells me that's not going to get the job done. That's not going to get the job done. Yeah, Ryan, if we do drop the 72, that would definitely get people a little shooken up. That's for sure. I've been encouraging everybody. I mean, you guys have to find a time when you want to buy. Maybe you thought this was the right time. I don't know. But even a technical rejection here, even if you do it right around here, I mean, that still gets you into the middle. Like, this is a real, this is a real dangerous box to be in. That would even get you to 76. This would be this one. I really think if we had a drop down, if it didn't end up coming back up and retaking this, it really feels like if we had another drop down, this might be the drop to pay attention to. And it kind of sucks that we're going, well, I mean, it doesn't suck we're going back up because we have to retest the drops. But if this failed and then going into Thursday, Friday, you know, we start that reversal, like this could be the drop. Like I've been saying it, like this could be the drop. And I'm being serious here. Like when it comes to XDC, there is a very real chance when we actually hit this real drop. If we happen to drop out here, I don't know if we're going to, because XDC right now is trying to feint a reversal, but this daily candle has been embarrassing at the least. It's been a very porous candle. It's been a hold from mid-tier, so maybe it's going to build pressure. But at least right now it hasn't garnered anything. It at least has held in the range where it could just be back testing and letting the pattern catch up. That's a good thing. But man, what we do is we create mountains now. If this doesn't break out, we've created more of a mountain for us to climb back up. Because now it's going to take all of this top end pressure, and then it's going to capsize. You ever see a boat filled with water in the middle of the ocean, and then all of a sudden it's holding water great. It looks like anything in the world can hit it, and then all of a sudden it capsizes. Like that's what we're trying to avoid. It would be oh so beneficial though if it did come down. It just, you know, usually when you want something to happen at the very end, it messes around with you a little bit. I just think there's going to be a lot of upward volatility going into Friday, and this could be part of that volatility. It just seems like we should have this upward volatility, at least today. I mean, it was meant to be today on this candle. This was a candle day to where we could have had some very high green momentum. We haven't got a lot of attention here. There hasn't been a lot of attention. What's getting kind of attention under the radar is gold and silver. The fact that it poured back into it after an early dump off today. I mean, you're talking gold was down better than $40. And silver is down several percent, almost 3%. Gold bounced back from 4,271, and then it had come all the way up, and then it bounced back. So, I mean, we've had some interesting momentum. If it breaks out of here, I mean, we're legitimately all going to be talking about this if gold breaks out of this. Because this is going to put it into such peril when it comes to the US dollar and just our purchasing power. Between that and silver, if silver breaks out here and goes to 64, 65, 66, up to that 67, it could be it would be an interesting problem to have. Because while the gold, silver, precious metals, even mining stocks would be going up, our purchasing power keeps going down. It keeps going down. Crypto Cruder, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XP Predictor, and also a very trusted mod in here and in the Telegram. Rob Clement said, last time hit, we bounced hard. True that. True that. The Gatman says, Mikael will ship. I know that's one we're going to have to pay attention to the next couple of days for sure. The Asian markets come online in a few hours here, so the Mikael will be online soon. It's pretty crazy though, the kind of days that the markets had. You had the NASDAQ, which was up a couple hundred points, and it dropped down about 150, then it recovered to 40, up. And we've been all over the place. We've been all over the place. And another key thing to watch for, and I know we're a half hour into this live, which seems crazy that it's already been that long. But USDT, the United States Digital Tether dominance chart, is a very key one to watch. Like, if we break out of this, it's a problem. And the only reason that I still think we can is because we had such a big bottoming part of this. That's a big bottoming phase. And until this breaks down, we have to acknowledge it as if it can break out here on that golden cross. And if we start pushing up towards that 7% and then break out and start pushing towards 8%, that's how much money comes out of each of the individual altcoins. Even though the money's in the crypto market, it goes into what they call a stable coin because it has a stable price. Even if it's going down and devaluing on the US dollar, it's still paired 1-to-1 with the dollar. Or it's supposed to be, at least. So if this happens, this is brutal. That just means that much more money's finding its way and they feel more comfortable having money devalued instead of having it in the crypto market on tokens. That's a negative correlation to the price action. So the higher that goes, the worse off we are. So, that's just the way it goes. Just really the way you look at this, if you want to look at it from a tether perspective, just from these bottoms, when it came down here in, May, June, look at this. There's 65% more money being put into Tether than there was 6 months ago for safekeeping in a stablecoin. 65%. That's a lot. Since May 30th, roughly, until now. So you're talking 7 months. 65% more money is finding its way into the stablecoin of USDT instead of in tokens. That's a huge red flag. Is it not? That's a huge red flag. So, yeah, I mean, that is what it is. Like, we can't make this up. That's just what it is. Like, that's a big problem. I mean, I didn't realize it was that much. 65% more money for the USDT in the last 7 months has found its way into stable. And that's just USDT. Wow. That actually is crazy. Does anybody understand like what the repercussions of that is? Like, that's why the price dropped so hard. All the money went into the stable. Some people have the false illusion that you can make money in the stable coin. Like, I don't know where we got our education from, but that's not true. A stable coin is a stable coin. Some people were taking their XRP and putting it into RLUSD because they thought it was going to pump. And I remember I had to come on here for like 6 months and be like, listen, guys, I don't know who's feeding you this crap, but you need to stop listening to whoever told you that. The RLUSD stablecoin, it's a stable coin, meaning it has to have a price stable to 1-to-1 with the US dollar. That's why it's called a stable coin. Didn't call it stable trash. Didn't call it volatile piece. Right? It called it a stable coin. They are waiting to put it in crypto for some reason. Yep. That's the truth. That's the truth. Lord says Bitcoin weekly 13 cross 50 EMA XRP both, while on monthly cross 5.1 or 513 and 50 day. New to trading in fast EMAs, but I don't see a good outcome. But hey, I'm a novice. Hey, Jordan. Lord of Drink, thanks for adding some info. And I can correlate what you're saying, how it doesn't look good. If you take it up a step and you get into the 50, 100, 200 day, the 20, 50, 100, 200, you can clearly see a death cross. And not just Bitcoin, but XRP and many other assets. And it's not just that it's a death cross. It's the fact that we just got confirmation in the last about week with the 100 cross and the 200, which is the ultimate confirmation that we're going to have a continuation and a pattern flip to the downside with everything else built in with it, which could be a bearish drop right here because we're on the downside trying to get that firm rejection. And we're talking about an outcome that really doesn't look good like you're saying. And what you're saying just further validates it from a more, let's just say, a more volatile standpoint with the way you're doing it. It's a little tricky that way. I prefer the way I do it just because it gives you a further outlook. And then you couple it with the stochastic RSI and it helps you see the volatility. Then you can actually couple it with the MACD, moving average convergence divergence, just to see where the flow is going. And as we can see, the daily is starting to die down here a little bit. The weekly, when it comes to moving average convergence divergence, we've been red. And now it's a little white, but we've been like this for several weeks. Eventually, though, this is going to die off. Eventually, this is going to reverse hard to the top side. Now, would it warrant coming down to the 200 day? It very well might because of where we're at. Generally, when you have a death cross in the daily, you're hunting the weekly 200 well below. And maybe it's going to climb up here in time and then it'll meet it at 72. It's not that far off. But it's the same thing for XRP as well. So, Lord, I appreciate that info that you shared, to be honest. Novice or not, I appreciate that information. I know 5% of the audience left for some bizarre reason. We live in bozo land and fairy tale world and the land of the matrix where when you give out real information and real honest figures, people leave. But they'll stay when somebody's, finessing them and lying to them because they think it's going to go up. And then they lose 75% of their portfolio. But they'd rather listen to that person because they tell them how they're going to go up another 6,000%. Instead of listening to me when they have all 75%, but they hate the fact that I only push small moves. Like now, I'd be inclined to believe that XRP is going to come up and push that $2. I really would. I'd be inclined to think that's where we're going next. Now, obviously, if we fell through the old line here at $1.89, $1.90, well, yeah, then we can change it up. But it seems like XRP's at least going to make you would think it would make the pedestrian move up to $2. Got a nice inverse pattern set up here. Boom, boom, nice little flag possibly setting up. As long as the 20-day continues to support it, you should bounce up here to that $2 mark. Don't really see much reason why not. Unless this is just so trashed out now that it can't even backtest it, but I don't see that. I do see a volatile retest here coming. But I don't know if it falls out here and doesn't even give us that volatile retest. This could be a further indication that we're on the very wrong path here. 4 hourly looks like it's trying to flip back into the moving average convergence divergence into the good graces at least. Stochastic is overbought in the 4 hourly slightly. So we'll see how this plays out. Dan Marginal, welcome back into Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. Thank you so much for that, Dan. I really appreciate it. Zolam says, we are here, Mr. Tom. I appreciate you being here. I Hustle Harder Than You says, change the title to the XRP to 1K by Friday. See how many people... Oh, my God. We've done that before just to show how many people will come in here. I once did a live and an update, and I'm not kidding you guys, and I had to stop, and I had to tell people it was just a joke. I once did a lot, or an update I did, and I said breaking news. I'm not kidding, and this got like 9,000 views, and then it got taken down after a while. I think, but anyhow, I put down Brad Garlinghouse abducted by aliens, agrees to deal to trade XRP for Kryptonium, or what did I call it? Kryptonium. And I said, if you want in on this lifetime opportunity, all you have to do is send me $1, and I came up with an address. And people started and I put a fake PayPal, and I just put it together, and I put a fake link. Well, it was a real PayPal, but it was just to a fake account. And people started sending $1. And they say, I need to be in on this lifetime opportunity. I don't know where you got this news, but I don't know how we're getting Kryptonium. I literally called it Kryptonium. And I know some of you remember from 2022. I'm telling you right now, like, when I first put it out, within an hour, there was 2,000 views. I'm like, oh my God. And then I had like 30 people send me $1. It was the craziest thing ever. They literally believed when I put it out that Brad Garlinghouse was I said Brad Garlinghouse extorted by aliens, forced to trade XRP for Kryptonium. That's what I said. Brad Garlinghouse extorted by aliens. It was unbelievable. Was there anybody in here when I did that? It was so funny. And then I showed what it looked like. I had Kryptonium, but it had an X in the middle of it. And it was, oh my God, it was so funny. And I could not believe how many people were like, and I had to come on and live, and I'm like, listen, guys, I know that I said that he was extorted by aliens and that he traded XRP. So basically they took all the supply of XRP and they gave him Kryptonium. And this was going to be the most expansive, most unbelievable digital asset you've ever seen. And people believed it. Oh, Maple Man, that was a classic, Tom. Absolutely. Oh my God, Maple Man, I couldn't believe it. And I told everybody, I'm like, everybody's just lucky I have integrity, because I could come up with, I almost came up with a station after, just to put, so I could have, I almost think I should just have a not satanic, but a comedic spin on what I do, just to cater to everybody. And then I'll have these charts out and be like, here's all the reasons why kryptonic currency is going to be the new thing. You know, Brad Garlinghouse writing the code for Project Blue. I mean, it basically, it's too much. Crypto Crudo says XRP influencers, or XRP shell influencers say XRP to 1,000, not per token, but their whole portfolio. Basically, the sad truth is, most influencers, satire, thank you, I hustle harder than you. That's it, satire. I almost did a satire page, but then I thought it would take away from some of the stuff I do, because I'd be putting more energy into that too. Oh, but how great would it be? It would overtake my channel in months. I'd be like, man, it's so easy to get subscribers like this. I could come out with the craziest headlines ever. Well, I came out with one and I got it pulled down. You can't really talk about us being like mining stations and stuff like that. At least not in writing. I showed the patent that was there, and they did not get too happy about it in 2022. I don't know if the standards have changed. But think about it. We're digital. They have to mine energy. So couldn't we just all become the digital biometric-filled mining station ourselves? Think about it. It's not as far-fetched as people think. The 100K plaque incoming. Well, I mean, on this station, we're 48.5%. We went over another 100 today. Nice. Yesterday, we were 48,004 something. Now we're 48,005 something. Slowly but surely. By 2029, 2032, maybe. 2029, we might have a chance to get that 100K plaque, unless something changes drastically. But I don't think they're going to be promoting this station very hardcore at any time soon. We're just kind of sluggish in the price. Ethereum's still down on the day, which is kind of weird. Does have a little bit of reversal built in here. That's the thing. Either this is going to reverse real hard, or we're going to continue down this 2,500. It's pretty wild that in the 2-hourly Bitcoin or Ethereum's already overbought and we haven't done anything. Literally. There's no volume. Even on the push up, we are getting zero volume. It's almost scary how much volume's coming in. So little volume. But then again, this could be the flip from the sellers to the buyers here finally. But it's been a fun live. It's been a fun live going down this road. Algo, I mean, hasn't garnered. I mean, it had 1 hour candle where we're like, hey, a little bit's coming in. Maybe it's going to come back down here and back test 11.4. This was the drop down that we were targeting for the bear flag out of here. So at least it broke down. Then we broke up, back down. Now we got to see if this holds. Otherwise, we could have some problems. We came all the way down here. Something tells me we might come down and fill out this October 10th wick at 10.9 cents. So that's something that I'm looking out for. So, Jacoby, welcome in and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Kathy Wood said she was selling Tesla for Ethereum. I wouldn't listen to anything Kathy Wood says. If she's doing something, I normally do the opposite. She screwed so many people over when I first started on YouTube in 21, telling everybody these stupid stocks to buy. And she thought she was all that. Every single one of those are down like 85% today. Now, I'm not even joking. You can look it up. She got people absolutely whitewashed. In the dumbest trades you could have possibly took them when they were flipping. It was a market flip in the cycle, and she just couldn't get off the old chairs. Me either, Lev. I was just saying what you said. Oh, no, I appreciate you saying it. I was just giving you my thoughts of Kathy Woods. Man. I hustle harder than you says, let's do a live where we do one push per dollar donated to save Brad from the aliens. Yeah, Jim Cramer came out. I shared it on Facebook. I showed it in here too yesterday. He came out and said, buy Bitcoin. I'm not a fan of the derivatives or anything that's a derivative of Bitcoin. Some people took that as he's not a fan of altcoins. But he's saying, like, he literally doesn't want, like, you know, he doesn't want anything that's, like, Bitcoin Cash and all these other, he wants the real Bitcoin. But, yeah. I heard Tesla stock was spiking due to further autonomous news. It very well could. Very well could be. But here's the thing, guys. I don't know if any of you have seen the breaking news about Tesla. I don't really want to get into it. But just take a look at California. They're set to be suspended, their sales in California. The DMV says out there. So this is a very fine spike and all. But this looks like an exit spike for pricing. Literally, go look at what happened in California with Tesla. I was surprised about it. The DMV said sales will be suspended in California. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but that's the stuff that was going on behind the scenes. I've been looking on Bloomberg, but I don't see them talking anything about it. Because the top news doesn't say anything about it right now. But that wouldn't be a surprise then if they were in fact squeezing options traders. It's all on the losing. I absolutely. Yeah. Okay, John, you nailed it. That's why Samsung, I talked about it earlier. You just gave the reason why. Why don't you just tell us, Tom? Tell you what? I did. I told you about Tesla. I just don't know if the news is confirmed. I just read it in an article earlier. I was looking on Bloomberg to see if it had the top stories, but it's not on there. Because supposedly Tesla, their sales are going to be suspended according to the DMV of California. That was news that came out. It was in an article earlier. But Samsung, I talked about it yesterday and this morning that Samsung has a deal with a Mexican silver mine for $69 an ounce silver. And all I said was earlier that there's a reason why Samsung is doing this. And if they're willing to pay $69 an ounce, the price of silver is nowhere near anywhere where it's going to be for central demand. UBI will be through corporations, not the government. Interesting. Oh, I'm glad you asked, Frankie Fresher. Let me further give the information. See, by you asking those questions is good for me, because then I can try to expand a little bit, even if I might have forgot. There's an electric car company out of China that used to be a battery factory that outsold Tesla 2025. Name starts with a B. I don't know what that name is. Let's see. I want to see something before I leave. I want to see the Tesla sales suspended California. Tesla sales in California have not been suspended, but the California DMV sought a 30-day ban in mid-November. Yeah, but it's continuing today. See, they're not even updated. I hate... This is what somebody would say, and then they'll share that with me and say, well, AI says they're not doing it. No, this is news that's from today. This is why I couldn't just say, because it's hard to find it. See, it's going back to what happened in July, but this is new stuff out of California today. And it's funny because if that's the case, I mean, it's because of this robo-taxi, it says. But, oh man, I wish they would, I wish it would talk about this somewhere, but it doesn't. What, nobody wants to talk about this freaking news? I'm more interested in that news than about the I don't want no robo-taxi. I got freaking iRobot driving me around. That's what I want. Not. But I'm going to go because Julie's going to be, she's got to leave soon, and I want to make sure I say bye to the girls and whatnot. It was a great live. I appreciate everybody. We're just kind of stable. We'll see if we push up to that $2 level. If we lose $1.89, it's probably going to invalidate that push to $2. But we got plenty of room here for a push up. We got plenty of room. No, I'm not owning any kind of electric vehicle either. From what I read, the battery tech is already out there and watches, etc. But the needed demand is for a much, much larger market. Mrs. Stott, yes, it doesn't change the amount Tom gets. What does that mean? I don't know what Mrs. Stott said. Dan, if we do through the browser, does Tom get the full amount? I would do it through the browser instead because I think it's cheaper. If you're on certain app stores or like iTunes, sometimes they charge more for the YouTube subscription, I've heard, than when you do it on the desktop. I get the same amount either way. You know, YouTube takes their little cut. But yeah, I get the same either way. So whatever's cheaper for you to join, do that way. Honestly. I don't know why it does that, to be honest with you. But yeah, have a good night, everybody. Yeah, LAS is making a new chip now that makes cold wallets more secure. I've heard this. I can't remember who they're working with. They're working with somebody. And LAS had a decent move in the earlier part of the day. Still hoping that this is going to confirm a further drop and that we're going to reset on this uptrend because that's where I'm really looking to maybe put some bit of a move. But the monthly right now, and there's been a lot of upward pressure, but the monthly is getting a little out of control. And it's not the same as gold and silver because it's not its own market. I mean, then again, but we'll see how this plays out. That's massively overbought. We'll see tomorrow what gold and silver decides to do the rest of the day today. And then we'll see if Dolly Varden picks up some steam as the week goes on or if it starts to reverse back down. But other than that,